Okay, this is April 25th, 2007, and I'm interviewing Robbie Robbins. He served in World War II and
South Pacific.
South Pacific. Big. Okay. When you were our age, what was a typical day like for you?
Well, I was born and brought up on a farm, so I was working. Always worked.
Where did you live?
Appleton.
Describe your family.
Well, my father was a carpenter. Mother was 6 kids in the family. We lived on a farm, so we farm work. Everybody worked.
Did you ever consider the military when you were our age?
No.
What plans did you have for your life until the time you enlisted or got drafted?
Oh, I don't know. Probably figured working on a farm life, probably.
How old were you when you joined up?
22.
How did your parents feel about your enlistment?
So I was drafted like everybody else, and
You didn't really
well, we thought nothing of it. It was just part of life, yeah. We was in a war. Our duty to serve. Yeah.
I see. Do you have any memories after returning home from the war?
Oh, of course, you think back at things that happened. As brother says, we had $1 million worth of experience, but we wouldn't do it again for $1 million.
Yeah.
We got through it all. Some days you wondered, but now I look back on it, why, yeah, it wasn't that bad.
How did you get adjusted to civilian life again?
Went back to work again.
What area did you return to?
Appleton, area, same area, yeah.
What job did you take?
Anything, everything. I have worked heavy truck drivers, heavy equipment. I had one job for 2 years where I never got my hands dirty. I made cottage cheese right here in the town of Union. Used to be a creamery there that made cottage cheese, and I worked in the cheese room for 2 years making cottage cheese.
Did you start a family of your own?
Well, not a number of years after.
How did it feel to be back home?
Good.
I have one question for you. How did the time in your service affect the rest of your life?
Well, one thing about the service, it gives you discipline, which you need. And as I have said for years, I think they should have kept the draft on for 2 years, girls and boys both. Once they get out of high school, 2 years. I don't care if it's war or not. They would get discipline, which two-thirds of the kids today do not have. And by that time, they would not want to know what they want to do. Getting out of high school today, a lot of the kids have no idea what they want to do. I think that would help. And once you get out of high school, you still got to go to school. I've been to school because I worked for a company down the rock on FMC Corporation operating high-pressure boilers. And I had to have a state engineer's license to operate boilers. So I had to go to school for that, take a state test.
What was the best thing that happened to you because of the service?
Oh, I think the discipline, you give you discipline, and you focus more on life, everyday life. I say I've done everything. I've driven a truck, mechanic, everything else. Now I'm doing plumbing, heating, and service work. You go ahead.
What is your definition of freedom?
You have a choice to do what you wish. Go and come as you want to, which a lot of your foreign countries don't. You do here in this country. You can go and come, do what you wish.
I got a question that's semi-important, but it kind of would tell me a little bit more. Did you have like a wife or anything? Were you married or have a girlfriend when you left to go to the army?
No, I didn't, no.
Oh, okay.
No.
Well, that's basically it.
Yep. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Let them get settled.
It's on.
It's on. It's the little red record in the top right corner. Is it?
Okay, you can.
No, the microphone's on.
Is it? Should be turned on.
It is.
It's okay.
Robbins.
Should say on.
Yep.
Alrighty, ladies, whenever you're ready.
We're here with Mr. Robbins, and he's going to tell us a little bit about his war experiences. What war were you involved in?
World War II,
So, were you enlisted in the war, or were you drafted?
drafted,
How old were you?
22,
What branch of the military were you in?
Army. Then I started out in the Army, then I re-enlisted over into the Air Force. So I was in both, the Army and the Air Force.
What'd you like better?
Air Force.
What
Didn't have
was,
to walk.
what was your rank in the Army?
Private first class, PFC.
Where did you serve?
Took my basic training in Fort McClellan, Alabama, and I over in South Pacific, Luzon Island, Grady Island, and Japan.
How long did you serve?
32 months.
How did you feel when you first found out that you needed to go into the service?
We just did it, thought nothing of it, because everybody went. It was war on, so we all had to go.
Mhm. Did most of your friends join the Army too?
Yeah, most of my friends was in the service. Yeah.
How were the conditions when you were in the service? How were the conditions when you were in the service? Like, what was it like?
Well, you was busy. it was war time, and I was down, as I say, Fort McClellan, Alabama. Took my basic training down there. I had 11 weeks of basic, and then went there over in Pacific, Philippines, and we trained 6 days a week, sometimes 7, and it went 8 to 16 hours a day.
Could you share one of your experiences in the war?
Oh, there's all experiences, but I don't know.
Maybe when you think back to the time that you served, what comes to mind first?
Well, the thing is, we knew who we was fighting over there. Today they don't, but I went overseas on a troop ship. It was 5,000 enlisted men, 500 officers and WAC, plus the crew members. We was on board the ship 30 days going San Francisco to the Philippines. And it was hot, went down across the equator. But then we got into the Philippines, because it's hot in the Philippines also. And it was in Luzon Island first, I think, then went board ship to Grady Island.
And that is typical.
I was in combat, and went from there on another ship to Japan. Was in most part sitting in Tokyo Bay, the peace was signed. We could see the ship when they was signing the peace. We went ashore in Japan the next morning in a seaport named Tateyama, which was across the bay from Yokohama, which you probably know. As I said, you need big maps. And then that was August, I left to Japan December 1945, that same year. Japan was a pretty country then. I don't know what it is now, but the people were very nice. The young people our age like, could speak very good English, most of them. Their parents couldn't speak English, but the kids could speak English, good English, because they was teaching it at school. Or you go in town, they invite you back, because they all had little shops and things. Invite you back for a cup of tea with them or whatever. Communicate with them. Yeah. I spent 2 weeks in Tokyo Hospital where they had Japanese doctors and nurses, besides our own. I didn't get shot, I got sick. And yellow jaundice. 32 months of service, went 5 times in the hospital. 3 times with malaria, which I was very fortunate, 1 week at a time, or some of them spend months and a lot of them die from it. And then I sprained my ankle once. Spent 3 weeks in hospital with that. But otherwise, I haven't been in hospital since. So, very fortunate.
Besides all those, were there any other hardships that you had to go through?
Oh, we thought so at the time, but thinking back on it now, just a day-to-day thing we did, and you did it and thought nothing about it. Another job. As I said, some of them, back when I was out on patrol over in the Philippines, you'd be out for a week at a time sometimes. And your rations was a Cracker Jack box. You had a 3-4 dog biscuit. Well, I think it was. It was a hard like a dog biscuit. Yeah. And the breakfast box had a little can of eggs and bacon, eggs and ham. And 3-4 of those dog biscuit. Coffee, powdered instant coffee, which you mix with cold water, because you never had hot water. And so I think it was a fruit bar. That was your meal. Noontime had basic same thing. Might have a can of cheese, a little can of cheese, and a chocolate bar, and powdered lemonade mixed with cold water, which you call battery acid. I think it was. And supper time, same thing. And there was a 4 pack of cigarettes and 4 matches, a stick of gum, all in this little Cracker Jack box. That was your meal. You were never hungry. And you got water. If you found a brook, you filled its canteens with water, put a couple of chlorine tablets in it to purify it. Nobody ever got sick. Now, I was over in the Pacific, because it's hot over there, and I carried 2 canteens on my ammunition belt, first aid kit, and on my belt I had a knife. Someone carried a little short-handled shovel that folded up. When I was over in the Philippines, I carried an automatic rifle, which weighed 20 pounds by itself. Had a 20-round magazine. I had an ammunition belt that held 8 magazines. So you had all that. You had 2 canteens, your first aid kit, your knife, your full fuel pack, which carried your rations and everything in.
Were you involved in any?
Stop for a minute, close this window. Because I can hear those children's voices out there, and I don't want them to. Sorry.
We have about 5 minutes. Right? Okay. 5
Actually, 2 or 3 minutes, because we need to pack up and get you back to class.
Okay, so we only have a short amount of
Like
time.
one more question.
Like, how did you?
Should we just skip to the end? Last question.
Just get to the most interesting one.
Yeah, skip to
Uh,
the you get
last
all the
one.
information.
Do you want me to just ask that one? Okay, is it on?
It's fine.
If you were to relive this period of time, would you make the same decision to serve, and why?
Yes, probably a would, yeah. But, because then, there's a different situation than it is today. Today, we know who we was fighting and why. Today, we don't know who we were fighting. The troops over there today don't know who they're fighting. Man, woman, or child. We didn't have that problem. We knew there's Japanese, they was out in front of us, and that was it. And you were taught, shoot first and ask questions afterwards. It's either kill or be killed, and that's what it was taught, and that's how it was trained. And today, I mean, we didn't have the radios. Today, everybody's got a radio. And the enemy has that same radio, so he knows what's going on better than the troops do. We didn't have that. We had radios. They run a telephone line on the ground, strung it out there on the ground, but Japanese come out at night and cut it in two, so you didn't have radios. And that's the difference between then and today. And another thing, then we didn't have news reporters. There was no news reporters underfoot, broadcasting or taking pictures all the time. Today the servicemen don't have a chance. Because the news reporters are there showing everything before it happens or when it happens. They know about it before the servicemen do. And they communicate, everything comes back home. We write a letter home, and it was all censored. All of our mail was censored. If they didn't write something, they'd drag it out. So you couldn't tell them what was going on. Pretty much where you were for quite a while. They'd drag it right out. Today, everything's wide open. So how are you going to fight a war that way? Because the enemy knows before they do it what they're going to do, because it's on the radio. They're talking back and forth. We didn't know it the week after it happened.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You all set? So you're ready to start? Yeah?